Hey everyone, how's it going? iamxeracon here. I originally wasn't going to be doing this video, since originally it was, being to death. Everyone's been talking about it, so I wasn't really going to cover it. And then also, due to how serious the situation is, I wasn't going to be talking about it either. Because I normally, like to keep things generally lighthearted. I mean, I have gone on rants before, but I wasn't going to do I wasn't going to do anything about talking about anything that was really majorly serious. But due to, I guess, looking at this situation from multiple angles and perspectives, and I even hearing some recent news, and also I guess because I am also, I guess, someone who is a part of this in a way, I decided to just go ahead and to talk about this. That's the entire, um, Logan Paul situation, the whole Japanese suicide forest incident, and then also the way he acted in Japan as well, outside of that. And I'm not even sure where I want to start. I haven't had anything sort of planned as like an outline or anything like that. So what he did in the whole suicide forest, going in there, saying that he didn't plan on finding, a dead body there. He didn't plan on, he didn't saying that, he didn't mean to. You can't say that at all, because you literally go into a place that is dubbed suicide forest. That's the first thing. That's the most important detail there. You go there knowing knowing about that place. Two, there is a set path you're supposed to walk on, so that deters you from finding any dead bodies. He intentionally got off that path and walked off it, and so he went and he, of course, found the person who committed suicide. And then he is completely shocked when he finds it. And like I said, you knew that was going to happen. It's not like you were going through the Imperial Palace Gardens and, you were walking along the path and you found someone. No, you intentionally went to a place where people commit suicide, and then you went off the path they tell you to walk on. So you not only went there, you also broke the rules, and you can't play the card that, you didn't mean for this to happen. You meant for this to happen. You wanted it to happen. So, here's something that's a bit crazy. Over here in the West, or I guess outside of Japan, we're actually really judging him for that reason. But it's interesting enough that in Japan, they aren't looking at him they aren't primarily judging him for that reason, and I think that's a pretty interesting subject. Because I was watching videos from people who are Japanese or who live in Japan, and they actually weren't looking at it as heavily as people outside of Japan, the Westerners, are looking at it. Um, One person, that man, I can't remember. I've watched a lot of his videos, but I really can't remember what his channel's called. It's that man, Yuta channel. I can't believe I forgot this. But I've watched his videos before, but then I saw that he did a video based on this, and he said that if Logan didn't do the other vlogs that he did, he actually would have been able to accept, the entire Suicide Forest incident, and would have been in a more forgiving position. However, because of that, he said that he's not really in a position to necessarily be forgiven. It's not really a position where he can just say that it's one slip up and that he made a mistake, considering the fact that his entire attitude and disposition towards the Japanese people has been less than ideal, or even decent, I should say. And this is actually something that, like I said, a lot of Japanese people have been focusing on, is his entire other vlog videos that he made. About how he's been pretty much harassing people, throwing items at people, breaking items, just like following people and harassing them, like that one person on the bike, or like throwing the plush at the car, stuff like that. Going into a restaurant, and throwing stuff at people, just being loud and obnoxious, stuff like that. And this is actually something I just found out, so I'm glad I, would have waited to make this video. Is that before, it was said that the police would have that wanted him for questioning regarding the dead body, but now he can, I can't remember the exact details, but he can be arrested for everything that he did in the other videos. And especially if the people who he harassed press charges. And this was based from an article where there were interviews with previous detectives and police officers in Japan, so they would know how the law system works and whatnot. So over here, you would probably get some sort of lawsuit for what he did. And then also, of course, there's also how he went to the one temple, and he was like being really loud, and then he he was at the temple, he was being loud, and then he sort of like haphazardly threw the coins into the wishing well, and then of course he was kicked out, and he wasn't even entirely sorry for what he did. The person who I guess was his guide was apologizing for him and his behavior, and that's just another thing that he's done. And then adding to the fact that in Japan it's different from over here, where where you're innocent until proven guilty. Over there, you are guilty until proven innocent. So, and also the evidence is already right there. I think it was a detective who said that the videos are evidence enough of what he's done, and so if he went back there, he could be arrested, he could be charged, and so, and I think it also said that you even wouldn't, I think it was a former police chief who said that if he went back there, but you wouldn't even need to just arrest him right there. You could wait and follow him and let him do something stupid again, because it's likely he would do that, and you could just catch him red-handed in the act. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much the gist of everything he's done. And like I said, the Japanese, from what I've been seeing in videos, have been tending to judge him and criticize him more for his actions out in his other vlogs outside of the Suicide Forest video he had. And that, I think, is something really interesting. Now, here's something also that I've noticed, another perspective that I've seen. If you've ever heard of Gaijin Goomba, he's a YouTuber who studied in Japan for 17 years. He went there to study their history and their culture, so that way he can sort of bring that back to America and stuff, and share all that he's learned with us, and then also, while he's over there, also, I guess, get people interested in Western culture as well, and share some of that over there. I think he said he was in Yokohama. That was where he was at when he was living over there. And he said that Logan Paul really sets back people like him for as far as the progress they've made, because he said that when he went there, Japanese people were really reserved, and he really couldn't get them to open up to him, being a foreigner and stuff. And so it took him a long time for people to open up and and share with him and whatnot, and just sort of try to get close to them. And he said that because of that, people like him, and he said there are people, which I definitely believe is true, who are still living over there doing the same stuff that he's doing, and he says that they're going to have an even harder time now because they won't be willing to open themselves up to Westerners and foreigners because of what Logan Paul did. So it's one person messes something up, everyone's going to be viewed as such. Now, in one of the videos, there was someone who was interviewing Japanese people, asking them about how they felt about Logan Paul, and then about how, if this would change their perspective of foreigners. And then, for what I've seen, the people being interviewed said that they wouldn't feel that that it wouldn't change how they look, because they said that people are different. One person shouldn't necessarily represent everyone, and the fact that they said that there are good foreigners as well as bad foreigners. There are good Japanese people and bad Japanese people. So it's good on that end. However, those were just a sparse number of people, and also I should also mention that this is in Tokyo where they were being interviewed. So even though they were in that same general vicinity where everything was happening, it is in an area that is, an urbanized area. It's a city. It's not like a more rural area. It's not someplace further out. Now, further out, maybe people might not have heard the news of what he did, but if they have, I doubt they're going to be as forgiving as an area where, Westerners sort of congregate and visit regularly. So that's, a part of it as well. And, it's really probably going to get even worse because you have the 2020 Olympics coming up. And so, that's definitely going to draw a lot of foreigners inside. And, a crazy thing is, I can easily see some American getting drunk one night, and maybe being really loud at night, maybe get into a fight or something. I can actually see that happening easily. And so that's really going to mess things up for people who actually want to seriously come to Japan and, and learn and stuff and visit, and, that's really going to mess things up. Um, so, like, if I were to, go back, I would have to go before that happens, and stuff. And sadly, it's really the loud people, the people who get in trouble, who creates, who draw the most attention. Because, like, when I went, when my group and I went to Japan, we were trying to, to respect the culture, trying to, speak to them, or at least those who could. We tried to speak in their native language, I mean, we were trying to, we're trying to learn from from our experience there and stuff. And, I doubt, unless, they were directly with us, I doubt that anyone's really going to notice, like, hey, there was that group from America. And, they were really, they weren't loud, they weren't being obnoxious and rude, or disrespectful towards us. No one's going to remember that, because we were just people passing by. But, with the whole Logan Paul, it's like, oh, there's that one American who disrespected one of our temples, who went around harassing people and stuff, who went and found a person who committed suicide, he broke rules and whatnot, and now he's a felon. People are going to remember that more than people like my group. And, I even, back in one of my Japanese classes, there we had a visitor who was from UK. He lived there, and then he studied abroad for one. He was supposed to study abroad for one semester in Japan, but he liked it so much that he actually ended up staying there, and he lives there now in Japan and stuff. And he came to visit us, and and tell us about studying abroad over there, and and gave us information. So people like him who want to do that, that's gonna be harder for them now. I think because of the fact that now they're just under more scrutiny, and even if I won't go back there, I probably will be under scrutiny as well. I'm not saying that it's possible, but it's definitely, I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't blame the Japanese for that happening. I mean, Japan, they have a very proud heritage. They have a very what's what I'm looking for? They have a strong culture, a strong cultural sense. They have a strong history. So for people to come in and disrupt that, I can understand them for being critical of people who are coming in there. And there's a saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And I feel like anyone, not just in Japan, but anyone who wants to go and visit a foreign country should do that. And one of the basic things you can do is learn what the culture is, and also try to learn the native language, because not everyone is going to learn, or necessarily should know your language. Like if I were to go to Germany, I would learn some German. I mean, I wouldn't learn as much as with Japanese, but maybe, maybe try to learn a semester's worth of German. At least, maybe a little less, at least try to learn some basic stuff, because, it'll show some appreciation. The natives will appreciate what, you trying to actually form a sentence or communicate with them in their language. Like when I went there, I was trying to speak to the Japanese people in Japanese, even though there are people who could speak English. I still wanted to speak in Japanese. To increase my proficiency in Japanese, and two, because I wanted to, I wanted to make a good impression on them. Like, so someone say, hey, here's someone who took time to learn our language and is trying to, uh, speak with us in our language and, uh, I guess you could say get along with us. I guess if that's the general idea of what I'm trying to say. Um, yeah, so that's something you should do, use common sense and, try to make good impressions with the people. Um, and then I guess the last thing I guess I want to say is, who should be outraged by this? Because I don't necessarily believe I should be, or out people who aren't, I guess, the main direct people who are going to be influenced by this should be as mad as they could or should be. Like, people who are just viewing this situation probably can't be as mad as they could be or should be, because, they're not the ones who are being, I guess, directly affected by this. And I guess, for that matter, I'm also a part of that because I'm not Japanese, and I'm not people like Gaijin Goomba who are going there to study Japan and the Japanese culture. I'm not like the guest visitor who who went to study in Japan, then lived in Japan, and also is a teacher in Japan as well. Um, so I guess I don't have a right to be as angry as they do because, I'm not someone who's directly affected by it. I mean, I guess you could say I could be affected because, I do want to return, but I guess I really just don't have as much of a right to be upset or outraged over the situation as they do. But yeah, that's it. I just wanted to get this off the chest. Also know that even though we're not focusing um, on the other instance, we should, because that is a major part of what Logan's done. It's not just the suicide forest incident that's being addressed. We should be addressing also how he disrespected the Japanese over there as well, in addition to the suicide forest vlog that people are talking about, because not many people are talking about that over here. I feel like that's something that should be addressed as well, especially for people who are interested in going over there. They should know that these are things you just don't do. So I guess with that, I am iamxeracon signing off. Have a good one.